ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد, in continuing with the Usul As-Sunnah of Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, the explanation of Shaykh Rabee ibn Haadee Al-Madkhalee hafidhahullah. And this is actually what the Shaykh advised us. We went to see the Shaykh hafidhahullah and we asked him, what do you think we should go over with the brothers back home in England? And the Shaykh hafidhahullah, he mentioned, you know, the books that you've already done, Usul Al-Thalatha and Qawa'id Al-Arba'a and Usul Al-Sitta. And he mentioned Kitab Al-Tawheed, and he mentioned in fiqh, go through those books in fiqh which are by way of hadith, like Bulugh Al-Maram and Umdat Al-Ahkam. These are the things that you should busy the people with. And also linking the people to some of the other Aqeedah books of the past, like Usul As-Sunnah. And he mentioned his own book, Usul As-Sunnah, and his explanation of it. So from that advice, we have taken it from the Shaykh directly, and this is why we are here with you reading it. Inshallah, we'll go back and we'll give the Shaykh glad tidings of these durus, inshallah. The great Imam Ahmad, the Imam of Ahl Sunnah of his time, rahimahullah, he says, وَالرَّجْمُ حَقٌّ, and the rajm, the stoning of the adulterer, عَلَى مَنْ زَنَى وَقَدْ أَحْسَنَ, the adulterer, the one who's called an adulterer, not a fornicator. Fornicator hasn't got married, he's single. Adulterer, he's married, and he goes and has an affair or has a relationship with somebody else, and in the end makes him fall into adultery. That's Allah salam, and that is prevalent in this society. In the West here, that is something which is prevalent and is actually become so filthy in this society. When a man gets bored with his wife, he goes off, he meets some other women in the pub or something like that, and a'udhu billah min dhalik, you find them committing all sorts of filthiness. And subhanallah, what you'll find is that the whole society is like this, intertwined with each other. This man with that woman, this woman with that man, and this. The whole society is like that. So if we don't protect ourselves, ya ikhwan, with this deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and our children and our wives and our families, wallahi, you never know. You never know what will happen to the next generation to come. Because if we're weak, how about them? How about the next generation that's going to come? So we have to strive, we have to be, inshallah, the catalyst for the next generation. Try our best for ourselves, for the next generation, that they will be, inshallah, holding on to their identity. Because if they lose their identity, then you lost and they lost. إِنَّ الْخَاسِرِينَ الَّذِينَ خَسِرُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ وَأَهْلِيهِمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَذَلِكَ هُوَ الْخُسْرَانُ الْمُبِينُ. That is the great loss. Those who lose themselves and their families on the day of judgment. So here, Imam Ahmad rahimahullah says that the rajm is for that individual, male or female, who commits adultery, and they are وَقَدْ أَحْسَنَ, he's a person who's already been married before. He's already been married before. إِذَا اعْتَرَفَ, if he admits it, أَوْ قَامَتْ عَلَيْهِ بَيِّنَةٌ, or clarification, the proof has been established upon him by 4 just witnesses. فَقَدْ رَجَمَ Rasulullah sallallahu, for the person performed rajam on those who are deserving of it. وَقَدْ رَجُمَتْ الْأَئِمَّةُ الرَّاشِدُونَ, likewise they also performed the rajam. Shaykh Rabee Hafidhahullah says, فَهَذَا حَدُّ الزَّانِي هُوَ الرَّجْمُ وَقَدْ رَجَمَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ الْغَامِدِيَّةِ, the Ghamidiyya, the woman who came to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and she said that she has committed zina. As'alullah salama. She has committed zina, adultery, not fornication, but adultery, while she was already married and she committed adultery. The Prophet turned away from her first of all. Then she said, I've committed zina. Then she turned away. Then he turned away, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And she kept on repeating it. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, because she was pregnant, wait until you give birth. Then she came back after she gave birth, and she wanted to be purified, subhanallah. And she continued. She said, I have committed zina, adultery. And she said that, then he said to her, wait until you wean the child. You breastfeed the child for 2 years. That child needs that mother, needs the So only after that she came back again. She said, I have committed zina. She repeated it again. And then some of the companions, they said, look at this woman, she doesn't conceal her faults, she doesn't. So Prophet said, when she was stoned, Prophet said that her tawbah, if it was spread out to Ahl Medina, her tawbah would be, was it Ahl Medina or Mashriq al Maghrib? You remember the narration? Ahl Medina, as far as I remember. Between the two mountains. This is Medina, Bain al-Abitayha. Then her tawbah would suffice all their tawbah. Subhanallah. And that was the Ghamidiyya. And likewise Ma'iz radiallahu anhu wa radiallahu anha. May Allah be pleased with him and her. Al-Ghamidiyya and Ma'iz, the companion who again i'tarafa, he had admitted that he has committed zina, and the Prophet ﷺ performed rajm on them. Wal-Juhaniyya, and likewise the Juhaniyya, the woman who also admitted rajm al-Yahudiyin, and also the Prophet ﷺ did rajm of the Jews who likewise they admitted al-Yahudiyyin alladayni zanaya rajamahuma Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Those who committed zina, the Prophet ﷺ did rajm for them, because the Jews tried to hide the verses of a rajm. So when the Prophet ﷺ uncovered their hands, it's in the previous scriptures that they used to have the rajm as well. So when they uncovered their hands, it's in there. So the Prophet ﷺ established it upon the Jews that they are also supposed to do the rajm or the stoning. وهذا حكم الله في التوراة والإنجيل والقرآن. This is the حكم of Allah in the Torah, in the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Qur'an. طبعا the Old and New Testament have been tampered with, have been changed. As Allah says, فويل الذين يكتبون الكتاب بأيديهم ثم يقولون هذا من عند الله ليشتروا به ثمنا قليلا فويل لهم مما كتبت أيديهم وويل لهم مما يكسبون. They change their book with their own hands, so woe to them what they earn and what their hands possess. So then he says here, من الأحكام التي وافقت فيه وأقرت الشريعة الإسلامية حكم الرجم. So the Sharia has established this حكم of الرجم وهو مشروع في التوراة والإنجيل وفي القرآن. This is something which is legislated. طبعا this is for the leader of the Muslims. It's not for the likes of you and me to perform the rajm. Rather this is for the leader of the Muslims to perform that. نزلت آية ونسخ لفظها وبقي حكمها. So a verse was revealed, he says, and its wording was abrogated, but its hukm remained. The hukm remained. And that is shown clearly in the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and his seerah, where he performed the rajm. وحدث بذلك عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله عنه قال إن الله بعث محمدا بالحق وأنزل عليه الكتاب وكان مما أنزل عليه آية الرجم. So from the verses that were revealed to Rasulullah is the verse of الرجم. قرأناها, we read it, وحفظناها, and we memorized it, ووعيناها, and we understood it, وأخذناها, and we took it, يعني on board, we took it, we accepted it. ورجم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ورجمنا بعده. Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم performed the rajm, the stoning, and we also did it after him. فأخشى أن يأتي قائل ويقول إننا لا نجد الرجم في القرآن فيضل بترك فريضة من فرائض الله. So the Prophet feared that somebody were and maybe there's a mistake in the print here, and we found a few mistakes in the prints. Maybe what is meant here فخشي النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام أن يأتي قائل ويقول إننا لا نجد الرجم. It was feared that they would say after him that there is no verse regarding the rajm, because the verse was abrogated, but the hukm remained, because the Prophet ﷺ performed a rajm. Now, that clearly shows us, and if you go to As-Sunnah of Marwazi, subhanAllah, Shaykh Ubayr taught this year in his masjid after Salat al-Jum'ah. This book here, subhanAllah, shows you clear proof that we support that the Sunnah explains the Qur'an. The Sunnah explains the Qur'an. وَأَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ الذِّكْرَ لِتُبَيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ مَا نُزِّلَ إِلَيْهِمْ. We have sent down the Qur'an, we have sent down the dhikr, the remembrance, the Sunnah, the Qur'an, that you, O Muhammad, may explain to them what has been revealed to them. So the Sunnah explains the Qur'an. Na'am, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions also, and also the Messenger said, إِنِّي أُوتِيتُ الْقُرْآنَ وَمِثْلَهُ مَعَهُ. I have been given the Qur'an and that which is similar to it. And that which is similar to it, and that is the sunnah of the Messenger ﷺ. That is the wahi, because the Messenger ﷺ does not speak of his own accord. وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. He doesn't speak of his own accord, rather it is revelation that is revealed. So those verses are clear, yani showing you clear proofs to show the sunnah yani is also from Allah, is also wahi from Allah. وَلَوْلَا تَقَوَّلَ عَلَيْنَا بَعْضَ الْأَقَاوِيلِ لَأَخَذْنَا مِنْهُ بِالْوَتِينِ ثُمَّ لَقَطَعْنَا مِنْهُ باليمين. لَأَخَذْنَا مِنْهُ باليمين ثُمَّ لَقَطَعْنَا مِنْهُ الْوَتِينِ. So if he were to say any words from himself, we would لَأَخَذْنَا مِنْهُ باليمين, we would take him by the right hand and cut off his cord. What that called? They call it. What's that called? The one in the middle. There's another word for it. The jugular vein, or the jugular vein. Allah would have cut that if Rasulullah would say one word from himself in the Sharia. And when Amr ibn As radiallahu anhu, Abdullah ibn Amr ibn As radiallahu anhuma, when he came to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam after the Jews tried to give him doubt that, oh, your Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gets angry, you write everything when he's angry as well as when he's happy, you write everything down, but sometimes he's angry. So they put a shubha in his heart. That's why don't sit with the innovators, ya akhwan, and don't sit with the people of batil, and don't take their innovation and take their mistakes. Be careful. Don't sit with the innovators and the people of partisanship and hizbiyah. Don't, be careful, because one word, khalas, it will stay in your heart. Abdullah ibn Amr ibn As radiallahu anhuma, he went to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and told him of that. Rasulullah said, nothing emanates from this except haqq. Yani even when I'm angry, nothing emanates from my tongue except haqq, regarding the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ثم قال وحد الزاني رجلا أو امرأة الرجم. So this is the punishment of the zani, the adulterer, adulteress, is that they have to be stoned. إذا كان هناك إقرار أو بينة, if there is something called إقرار from that person himself, he admits it, just like the Ghamidiyya and Ma'iz رضي الله عنهما. If there's إقرار أو بينة, كما قال الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم البينة على المدعي, the bayina is upon the one who accuses. He has to show the proof, he has to give the proof, the adillah, that he saw or he was present or something. There have to be not just one bayina, there has to be 4 people, 4 male or twice female. Naam, it's an issue of emotion. So it's not for any woman to come and say on her own to be equal to one man. No, because the woman by nature, her nature is emotional, and in certain times of the month, what affects the woman affects the woman. And in that time, the judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from his wisdom, he said 2 women is 1 man, because in a state of emotion. And look how the Sharia is just. When it comes to the sighting of the moon, 1 man is like 1 woman. If you go to Shaykh Abdul Bassam rahimahullah, his Tawdih al-Ahkam, and other ulama, Shaykh Ibn Uthaymin rahimahullah, in his Sharh Mumti' of Zad al-Mustaqni', then you will see likewise he says the same. With regards the sighting of the moon, the Prophet ﷺ said in authentic narration, all you need is 1 witness to sight the moon, the hilal, for the entering of Ramadan, and for the leaving of the Ramadan you need 2. Why? Because the ulama, they mention that for entering Ramadan, Rasulullah said you only need 1. That is to come into ibadah. Look how we are encouraged to do ibadah. That is legislated. But to leave Ramadan, you have to be sure not to leave a ibadah. You have to be sure not to leave ibadah. So you need 2 witnesses. And this is the hikmah behind that hadith of Rasulullah, which is sahih. And Shaykh Al-Albani said it's a sahih hadith, that you need 1 witness for the entering of Ramadan, and 2 for leaving Ramadan. And in that situation also, 1 female witness for the entering of Ramadan, and 2 female witnesses for the leaving of Ramadan. The same. Why? Because there's no emotion involved. There's no emotion involved. But regarding the zani and the zaniya, the women, regarding stoning and that, they may become emotional, and because by nature the woman has been made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not to be like the man. وَلَيْسَ الذَّكْرُ كَالْأُنْثَى. They're not the same. They are equal in the sight of Allah, but they're not the same. They are equal in the sight of Allah, meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as he has legislated for the man, legislated for the woman, unless otherwise.
unless otherwise stated in the Sharia. They get the same reward, inshaAllah. They get, Allah is just with them, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in that verse where He says, وَالذَّاكِرِينَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا وَالذَّاكِرَاتِ. All those verses, صائمين or صائمات, and before that, those who give charity, and those male and female, male and female, male and female, أعد الله لهم مغفرة وأجرا عظيما. Allah has given them maghfirah, forgiveness, and a great reward, male and female. So Allah is just, and in Allah's eyes or in His sight they are equal, but they are different. They have different roles. They have different roles, and some of them, they have different roles, and they have the different makeup, if you like. And then from the different makeup is that the woman is being given this extra emotion, extra love, because she needs that for the child that she bears. She needs that extra sabr for the child that she carries for 9 months, and likewise the 2 years of weaning. She needs that, subhanallah. And the man needs that extra ability that he's been given by Allah to go out, the strength that he has to go out and work and to provide for the family. So don't swap the roles, ya ikhwan. The woman goes out and work and you're in the house. Don't swap the roles. الرجال قوامون على النساء. The men are strong. They have been given that extra strength over women. Why? Bima, Allah given them as fadl, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has praised them with and given them honor with, for what they spend. Allah says, for what they spend, bima anfaqu, what they spend on their families. So that is the darajah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed for the men because of what they spend. So I wanted to clarify that just so that it is clear. الرجل يرجم بالبينة. The man is stoned with the بينة بشهود, by just witnesses. وهم الأربعة فإذا كانوا ثلاثة شهدوا عليه يقام عليهم حد القذف. If only 3 testified to the woman doing adultery, then what will happen? Those 3 are whipped. Look at the justice of Islam. They are whipped. Why? Because this is from al-qadf, accusing. قدح الزانية. Sorry, it's a mistake. Let me put it on silent. قدح الزانية, and this is from the 7 destructive sins. The Prophet mentioned that the السبع الموبقات منها القذف. From it is to accuse to accuse an innocent woman of being an adulteress or fornicatress. فلا بد أن يتوفر 4. So you must have 4 witnesses, he says. وأنهم رأوا هذا الرجل أتى هذه الامرأة, and that they saw this man أتى هذه المرأة, ورأوا الميل في المكحلة. ورأوا الميل في المكحلة. Basically they saw the actual act being happening. They saw the thing happening. They saw the act of adultery or the act of fornicating. رأوا subhanallah, and then he explains it even further what it means. ورأوا ذكره في فرجها صراحة. They see his private part enter her private part, and that is صراحة, clearly. How could that be ascertained? It's not that easy. It's not that easy. So look at the justice of Islam. You don't go around making qadf just like that. Is that not that easy? لا تقبل لهم منهم الشهادة إلا إذا كانوا 4. Their witness is not to be accepted except if they're 4. وإذا كانوا عن مشاهدة يقينية مستيقنة رأوها بأعينهم هذا صيانة للدماء وصيانة للأعراض. If they see clearly with their eyes and they are 4, this is more protection for the honor and a protection for the blood of that person. Subhanallah. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لولا جاءوا عليه ب4 شهداء فإذ لم يأتوا بالشهداء فأولئك عند الله هم الكاذبون. If they don't bring the shuhada, the witnesses, they are with Allah liars. Surah An-Nur verse 13. أو يتعرف كما اعترف ماعز والغامدية أو يظهر الحبل من المرأة فإذا ظهر الحمل, I think it means here, I think the person made a mistake, حمل, not حبل, and that is if the حمل, the pregnancy is apparent, from the woman, then there's no doubt that something happened. You know, you can't hide that something happened. And so I think there's a misprint here. فهو خير شاهد. That is the best proof. يعني خلاص, she's pregnant. And Allah musta'an, we heard reports, ya ikhwan, a boy goes with a girl, they go together, they commit zina together, then afterwards they want to get married. Ya akhi, why did you waste your life? Ya Amat Allah, ya Abdullah, why did you waste your life for only 5 minutes, 10 minutes of desires, and just to try to hide it, because eventually she's going to be pregnant, to try to hide it, they're going to get married. That's Allah salama. And unfortunately some men, hadahumullah, they have no jealousy. They send their daughters far away to universities across the country. So they live in London and they send them to Portsmouth or send them to Nottingham and on their own to live with other women. How do you know where they're living? So Allah salama. So we have to be jealous over our children, over our daughters, wallah, and our sisters. Alright, there's lasta alayhim bi musaytir regarding your sisters, and you can't force them, but you can encourage them in the beginning, and you try your best with them, and at least barri' nafsik, free yourself, for you've been questioned for not speaking to them and for not warning them. And sometimes, yes, it's not that easy. So maybe some members of your family, they're not practicing, but at least you did the job of advising them in a nice way. And don't advise them to push them away. If they don't listen to your advice, give them a tape, give them a book, and strive your utmost. فهو خير الشاهد. نعم. فالشاهد لا يرجم إلا ببينة. So therefore one is not stoned unless with a bayinah, clarification. Either that clarification is by 4 just witnesses, as we have just mentioned, he says, or the person himself says, I have committed zina, whether it's a man or a woman, or the pregnancy is clearly seen. The pregnancy is clearly seen in the woman. So this is the had of the zani al-muhsan, the one who has already been married before. That is the muhsan. Doesn't necessarily have to be married already. He could have been divorced and he commits zina. والمحصن هو الرجل الذي تزوج امرأة بعقد صحيح وجامعها في هذا النكاح. As we have just mentioned what the muhsan is. فهذه هي الشروط أن يكون عاقلا غير مجنون. He must be a person who's sane, not insane. Not a person who's insane, because the insane one, the qalam has been lifted upon that person. رفع القلم على المجنون حتى ايش يستيقظ. لا حتى يعقل. احسنتم. وعلى النائم حتى يستيقظ وعلى ناسي حتى يتذكر. ويكون بالغا غير صبي. So the person is also baligh, is adult. He's an adult. He mustn't be a young kid saying I saw this and I saw that. He must be an adult of age, and usually that age is it's about 15. Usually the age of puberty comes in about 15, and sometimes it may be earlier. It may be earlier than that, according to the signs. ويكون بالغا غير صبي ويكون حرا غير عبد. And he must be also free, not a slave. The person who sees and bears witness must be free. إذا كان عبدا أو أمه ولو كان تزوج زواجا شرعيا فإن حدهما نصف حد الحر. So, and likewise he says, if it is a servant, a male or female, it is a servant or a slave that is male or female, ولو كان تزوج زواجا شرعيا, even that slave or servant is married, نعم, فإن حدهما نصف حد الحر, and then his punishment is half the punishment of the free person. So if the zani who's single, he's supposed to be whipped how many times? مئة جلدة, 100 times. So the servant, slave, is to be whipped how many times? 50. Now this is the hukum in the shara', the legislation that Allah has laid down, and he mentions that here. يعني 50. الرجم لا يتنصف لأن حد الحر غير المحصن ذكرا أو أنثى. الزانية والزاني فاجلدوا كل واحد منهما 100 الجلدة ولا تأخذكم بهما رأفة في دين الله إن كنتم تؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر. Surah An-Nur verse 2. فحد الرقيق على النصف من حد الحر 50 جلدة ولا رجم على الرقيق ولو تزوج زواجا شرعيا وبعقد صحيح ليس عليه إلا نصف حد الحر وهو 50 جلدة. So there's no rajam for the raqiq. For the servant, the slave, there's no rajam for them, even if he's married. Even if he's married, he only has to have 50 lashes. Only has to have 50 lashes. This, subhanAllah, Islam came with justice. This is the hukm of Allah. We don't know why. We don't know why. But this is the hukm of Allah. If it's a free person, and he's married, or he was married before, then he has to have the had punishment on him. If he's servant, even if he's married, then he gets half of that. He gets half of that, and that the half, because of the other half, which is 50 of the 100, then likewise he says, even if he's married, he gets the 50 as well. Even if he's married, he gets the 50 as well. So subhanAllah, Allah, look how Allah made this legislation for even the servant. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned this for even the slave, because Islam came to bring justice. To bring justice. And there are more than 14 rules and regulations, ya ikhwan, in the ahkam al-fiqhiyya, where one is encouraged to free a slave. Where one is encouraged to free a slave. You could just remember the narrations, like if you do tawaf and 2 rak'ahs behind Maqam Ibrahim, your reward is like you free a slave. The reward is like freeing a slave. And likewise the sa'i, there's a narration with Shaykh Al-Madkhalee said is hasan, even the sa'i is like freeing a slave. So, or freeing many slaves. So this is some of the Sharia has come in order to encourage this. Because when Prophet ﷺ came and he called the people to Tawheed and Sunnah and so on, these ahkam already happening. Slavery was already there, but it was unjust. So the Messenger ﷺ came in order to correct them. This is not how we be. This is not how we should be. And he encouraged the freeing of slaves. And some of the Sahaba used to buy slaves to free them. They used to buy them to free them. And look at the slave or the servant of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, or the one that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq used to give charity to. He used to give charity to. When his own daughter Aisha radiallahu anha was accused of adultery, when his own daughter Aisha radiallahu anha was accused of adultery, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, khalas, he didn't want to give him charity anymore and provide for that person, because he was one of the ones who was speaking as well. Yani the servant. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the verse in the Qur'an, do you not wish to be forgiven? What's the verse? And the other one, أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ أَن يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ. Don't you wish that Allah forgives you? You forgive others. If you have afu, then Allah will have afu for you. Look at that. This is Sharia. Idfa' billati ahsan. And after that, because of the verse was revealed, he started continuing looking after that person, even though he knew that that person was speaking against his own daughter. Can we do that? It's very hard. And this is why they are the Sahaba, the best of the people, radiallahu anhum. That whenever they heard the verses, they would accept it. Look at Abu Talha radiallahu anhu. When he heard the verse in the Qur'an, the verse in the Qur'an, لا تؤمنوا أو لن تؤمنوا لا إيش لن تنال البر حتى تنفقوا بما تحبون. You will not reach bir, righteousness, until you give charity of what you love. Until you give charity of what you love. He said, the most thing I love is this piece of land, garden, big garden, piece of land, so much khair in there, so much. He says, I love this one, but because of this verse, he applied it for himself, and he gave all of that for charity. Subhanallah. So the Sahaba, they knew those verses. They didn't go around and apply it to other people. They applied for themselves first and foremost. Naam. And likewise in Surah Al-Hujurat, when the verse was revealed, لا ترفعوا أصواتكم فوق صوت النبي. Don't raise your voice above the voice of the Messenger ﷺ. One of the companions, do you remember his name? One of the companions, he used to have a loud voice, so he locked himself in the house. He didn't want to come out. And when the Prophet asked about him, where is such and such, he said, oh, he feared that the verse was revealed regarding him, Because the verse says أن تحبط أعمالكم وأنتم لا تشعرون, that maybe your actions become null and void while you don't even know. So he feared for himself that his actions will become null and void. So the Prophet ﷺ, he gave him glad tidings that he is from Jannah, and he is forgiven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is not from them that who raise their voices. Zahir, maybe Thabit bin Qais. No. Jazakallah khair. Imam Ahmad rahimahullah continues and he says, وَمَنْ انتقص وَأَحَدًا من أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أو أبغضه بحدث كان منه أو ذكر مساوئه أو ذكر مساوئه نعم كان مبتدعا حتى يترحم عليهم جميعا ويكون قلبه لهم سليما. Look at this beautiful statement by Imam Ahmad rahimahullah. Whoever speaks ill or dishonors, debases, dishonors any of the companions of the Messenger, notice he said any one of them, the elders, the young ones, any one of the Sahaba, أو أبغضه, or he hates him because of an occurrence that happened. Something happened and he hates him because of that. Or he mentions a sin of the Sahabi without mentioning excuse. Look, subhanallah, don't mention a sin of Sahabi unless you give him an excuse. Radiallahu anhu wa radu anh. Allah is pleased with them and them pleased with him. Kana mubtadi'an, he is an innovator. So you don't go up in the akhta of Sahaba, the mistakes of the Sahaba, one after the other. They say, oh, the Sahaba, even Sahaba are not perfect, and you start saying one after the other, they made mistakes as well. And with detail, like the Rafidah, you go mention details of their mistakes. This is not the way of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they would hide the faults of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. As the Messenger said, إِذَا ذُكِرَ أَصْحَابِي فَامْسِكُوا, when my companions are mentioned, then withhold. أمسكوا اللسان ألسنتكم, hold your tongue. كَانَ مُبْتَدِعًا, Imam Ahmad rahimahullah says, he is an innovator who debases or speaks ill of them. حتى يترحم عليهم جميعا, he will not be from Ahlul Sunnah until يترحم عليهم جميعا, until he says he has يترحم, he says رضي الله عنهم, he speaks good of them, all of them. ويكون قلبه لهم سليما, and his heart is salim, his heart is content regarding them, is happy towards them, he loves them. Why? Because this is the dua that we say. What is the dua that we are supposed to say? ربنا اغفر لنا والذين سبقونا بالإيمان, ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخوان الذين سبقونا بالإيمان, سورة الحشر, ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم. This is what we say about the Sahaba رضي عنهم. Forgive us and our brothers who have preceded us in faith. Who are your brothers first of all? The Sahaba. Because the one before, after Allah mentioned the Sabiqun, and then the Sabiqun al-Awwalun, and he mentioned who are the Muhajirun, and then the Ansar, and then he mentioned their qualities, those who were in the Dar, meaning Medina, which is called Dar and Iman, the place of Iman, because in other hadith the Messenger ﷺ said al-Iman ya'rizu lil-Madinati ila al-Madinati kama ya'rizu al-Hayyatu ila juhriha, that Iman will go back to Medina just like the snake goes back to its hole, meaning there's Iman in Medina. This is the Dar of Iman. Those who were in there, meaning the Ansar, and before them he mentioned about the Muhajirun, and then he said وَالَّذِينَ جَاءُوا مِن بَعْدِهِمْ, those who came after them, and they are the ones who say what? ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخوان الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا. Don't make in our hearts غل, hatred for the believers, for the Sahaba رضي الله عنهم. إنك رؤوف الرحيم, you are indeed رؤوف الرحيم. Allah is Ar-Ra'uf, the one who is compassionate, Ar-Rahim, and is gracious. Naam. So the one who speaks ill of the Sahaba, then he is considered to be an innovator. Shaykh Rabee حفظه says فهذا من أصول أهل السنة أنه لا يجوز انتقاص أحد من أصحاب محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا ذكر مساوئهم, nor should one mention their sins, not just dishonor them but also not mention their faults, yani by way of try to speak ill of them. Rather, if a mistake occurred, you should try to mention an excuse for them. And I'll give you an example. One of the callers who used to come to this country, Abu al-Hasan al-Ma'rabi, he used to speak against some of the Sahaba, but the reason why he did it, he didn't do it directly. What happened was, he used to speak against the faults of the Salafis, and then he will say even the Sahaba were not free from that. So that's how he would come in. So he didn't directly say, because nobody who does it directly, unless he's Rafidi, directly speaking against Sahaba like that, say they're kuffar or they're murtaddun and so on, and nobody will accept that from him anyway if it was so direct. But it was subtle. So he was saying, oh look, the Salafis, they don't have husn al-dhan, they don't have good opinion about the people, they don't have good opinion. Generalize it like that is not the correct way. You shouldn't generalize. Yes, there are mistakes that some of the Salafis have fallen into. We ask Allah to guide them to the truth in correcting their manners as well as correcting their etiquette. This is something which all of us we need. La shak wa la raib. We advise each other for the sake of Allah. But to do it in this manner, to speak ill like this of the Salafiyun like this, and these are the ones who are inshallah from the aided group and the Ta'ifat al-Mansura because of their Aqeedah and methodology, and some of them, if they're falling short in akhlaq, you can't generalize for all of them. But anyway, going back to the topic, this is an important point. He used to say, and this is only an example, he used to say that, oh, they don't have husn al-dhan. Even the Sahaba, they were not free from that. And then he went on to mention the example of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiallahu anhu. He said, look at the example of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiallahu anhu. He didn't have husn al-dhan for the one Ibn Sayyad, who was accused of being the Dajjal in the time of the Sahaba radiallahu anhu. So what is he talking about? Let's go back and see the incident between Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiallahu anhu and Ibn Sayyad. And secondly, we should now also put big exclamation mark when we see this now. Even Abu Sa'id al-Khudri didn't have good opinion for Ibn Sayyad, trying to illustrate a mistake as he thought of this companion, and why Allah was not a mistake. And I'm going to show you why, because Shaykh Rabee Hafidhullah showed us why, and we take our deen from the ulama, and they clarified these issues for us. It's so simple and so easy, in a simplistic way, in a beautiful manner. Shaykh Rabee Hafidhullah, when he heard this, he defended Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiallahu anhu. What happened with Abu Sa'id al-Khudri and Ibn Sayyad? In an authentic narration, Abu Sa'id al-Khudri was with Ibn Sayyad one evening, in front of a fire, it was in the evening, they were alone. Ibn Sayyad, he said, what is wrong with the people, meaning the Sahaba? They are speaking against me. They are saying that I'm the Dajjal. And you know, the Dajjal can't have children, and I have children. Now here's Ibn Sayyad defending himself. And you know the Dajjal can't come into Medina, and here I am in Medina. So what is wrong that the people are accusing me of being the Dajjal? He was silent. And then he said, but if I am given it, I will not reject it. Abu al-Hasan didn't mention this point. If I am given it, meaning to be the Dajjal, I will not hesitate to take it. To be the Dajjal, to be a kafir. So he now brought doubt upon himself. So Shaykh Rabee Hafidhullah says, this is why he was deserving of Su' al-Dhan. So the Sahaba that had Su' al-Dhan for him, they had the right to have a bad conjecture for him. Why? Because he brought it upon himself. And that's why the hadith, which is of Nu'man ibn Bashir, فَمَنِ اتَّقَى الشُّبَهَاتِ فَقَدْ اسْتَبْرَأَ لِدِينِهِ وَعِرْضِهِ. Whoever keeps away from the doubtful matters, he's free from blame from Allah, in terms of his deen, and from the people in terms of his honor. But this one, he went into the shubuhat, so he's not free from blame based upon that hadith. So here Shaykh Rabee Hafidhullah defended Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiallahu anhu, and he refuted Abu al-Hasan al-Ma'rabi in saying, this is incorrect what you're saying. You should not speak against Sahaba like this. If you mention an incident that occurred, you should only mention it in the best of light, and also excuse for the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose them to be the best of the people, as Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu said, from the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I'll give you another example from the This is only an example. Abu al-Hasan also mentioned about the Sahaba being Ghutha'iyya, being scum. This one has no ta'wil. This talk about the Salafis, and then later on he says even the Sahaba were like that. Yani like the froth of the sea, the foam of the sea. What does the froth hold except dirt and bad things of the sea? Carries all the bad things. How can you describe Sahaba like that? Radiallahu anhum. And then he made tawbah of that. When he came back to Medina, he made tawbah. And then after that, when he went back to Jeddah, he said, when he was asked about this incident about Sabba Sahaba reviling the companions, he negated his tawbah and said, they don't know what Sabba Sahaba is. Those mashayikh who pinned him down to make tawbah for his own benefit, he said they don't know what Sabba Sahaba is, what reviling the companions is. Subhanallah. If Ghutha'iyya, you signed with your own hand. Shaykh Muhammad ibn Haadee said, you signed it with your own hand. Affirm that with your own hand, that this is reviling the companions, and it's not befitting that you say that about the Sahaba, and now you are negating it. That extra ziyada, that incident that happened in Jeddah, Shaykh Rabee ibn Haadee showed it in a piece which he called Marahil Abil Hasan, just to show you that there were stages. So those who said that khalas, he's made tawbah, they based it upon the 5th stage, but they didn't know about the 6th stage. The 6th stage is he negated his tawbah, so that's why he was refuted thereafter. So Shaykh Rabee was not harsh towards him, rather he was defending the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, defending the companions, defending the Sahaba tooth and nail, and that's what we know from the Shaykh in his life. Hafidhahullah. Now, there were just 2 examples, and there are more examples. There are more examples of the defense of the Sahaba that the ulama used to do. And here is Imam Ahmad rahimahullah reviving the Aqeedah of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah in defense of the Sahaba. مع الأسف الشديد, Shaykh Rabee says, هذا لهوان الدين عليهم ولهوان أصحاب محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. This is because he says the deen in their eyes is something which is not sacred, not something which is honored, and the Sahaba in their eyes is not honorable for them to say anything about the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. لهوان أصحاب محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ولهوان عقائد الإسلام, and also they belittle the Aqeedah of Islam, that they allow the sab of Sahaba, or they cooperate with the Rafidah, like the Hamas cooperates and takes money from the Shia, the Rafidah, and they go with them and they shake hands with them, all happy, and we're all happy and all together. Sallallahu Salama. The common cause of the Jews. Your Aqeedah is more harmful than the Jews' Aqeedah. Why? The Jews are clear. The Jews are clear. Who said this? Imam Ahmad rahimahullah said, when he was said to him, you take aid from a Jew or a Christian, and you will not take aid from a Jahmi, somebody who has denied Allah's names and attributes. He said, yes, because the Jew and Christian is clear, he will not harm my people. Yani, not harm the people that he's working with. But as for the Jahmi, he will deceive my people, because he will speak by Islam, with the Islamic tongue. He will say Islam, but he's not upon Islam. Nasallahu salam. So because of the shakhsun yuhinun anbiya, he says a person that speaks ill of the anbiya, and he's talking about here Sayyid Qutb, that he speaks in his books about Musa alayhi salam as being asabiyul mizaj, a man with a fiery nature. This is how he speaks about Musa alayhi salam. Kalimullah, the one who spoke to Allah. Allah spoke to him. And he speaks about Musa like this, and he compares him to Ibrahim. Says, look how Ibrahim was patient and so on and so on, but look at Musa, fiery nature, to belittle him. Nasallahu salama. Shakhsun yuhinu al-anbiya, he speaks ill of the anbiya. Yuhinu al-sahaba, he said about Amr ibn As, and likewise he said about Muawiyah radiallahu anhuma, Muawiyah ibn Sufyan. He said that these two, they deceived, they used deception. They used khida', deception, wal kadib, and lies, wal khiyana. There's all of this, deception, lies, and cheating, wal ghish. This is how you speak about the Sahaba. And he said about Uthman radiallahu anhu, he said Uthman, he said the Khilafah is Abu Bakr, Umar, and Ali. And as for what is between Umar and Ali is just a gap, thulma. Because the Khilafah that reached Uthman, he reached him in an old age, when he was an old man, and he didn't have the ruh of Islam, the spirit of Islam. Uthman, even the angels are shy in his presence. Yeah, how can you say that about Uthman radiallahu anhu? But this individual, his aqeedah is of Wahdat al-Wujud. In Surah Al-Ikhlas you can read it. He denies the Arsh of Ar-Rahman. This is aqeedah. But yet, because of his political stance, the political activists, they raise him. So the political activist Salman al-Auda says this man is a'immat al-huda, the scholars of guidance, from the scholars of guidance. Salman al-Auda. Safar al-Hawali writes a book called Dhahat al-Irja'. Half of it is in praise of this man, Sayyid Qutb. Say Shaheed, Sayyid Qutb, Shaheed. كيف ذلك? You know that you're not supposed to say Fulan Shaheed, except that Allah and His Rasul have testified to that. So ya ikhwan, this is an affair of politics. That's why, because they've taken politics more important than aqeedah. So therefore they only look at the politics. They only look at the politics. And if anyone praises this man as to be the a'immat, you know that they want you to follow his way of what? Of takfir of the society and takfir of the hukam. This is what he has in his books. Yes, Allah salama. And Shaykh Rabee hafidhahullah, he mentioned these in his books. Yarmi, look, he says here, Yarmi Sahaba bin Nifaq. نعم يكفر الأمة وهو سيد السادات وإمام الأئمة. He is considered to be the leaders of the Muslims and the أئمة. عند من? According to who? عند من يريد أن ينهض بالأمة ويعيد لها مجدها. These people, they want to bring about honor for the ummah. In this way we're going to bring about honor. هؤلاء لا يؤتمنون على دين الله. They are not to be trusted with the deen of Allah. And they mix with the rawafid, he says. لأنهم يدافعون عن هذا الرفض, because they themselves defend this rafd. Defend it. What is this rafd? الرفض means to الترك. الرفض بمعنى الترك. As Shaykh Ubayr Abdullah says, in the Arabic language it means Turk. What did they do? They left they left the leadership of their time of Yazid, of Zayd of their time, and their leader of their time, because they wanted him to revile Abu Bakr and Umar. And that was from their forefathers, or from the Sahaba who came before them. So the Rafida at that time, they split up from them. They split up from them at the time of the leadership of Zayd. And here it clearly shows us that the Rafida, they're the ones who split up, and they're the ones who chose a path of deviation. When even Ali radiallahu anhu, he used to love Umar ibn Khattab. In Sunan ibn Majah, there's a narration that Shaykh Abdul Muhsin was going over this year, where he mentioned about Ali radiallahu anhu when he saw Umar ibn Khattab on his deathbed. When the Majusi, Abu Lu'lu ad-Du'ali, when he stabbed Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu in the Fajr prayer, he stabbed him, and now Umar was taken to his bed, and his last words, subhanallah, Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu was visited by the Sahaba. When he was visited by Ali radiallahu anhu, Ali radiallahu anhu praised him. He said, whenever Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would go in a place, you and Abu Bakr was with him. Whenever he would go out of a place, you and Abu Bakr were with him. Look how he's praising Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. So if they were true followers of Ali radiallahu anhu, if they loved Ali radiallahu anhu, they would follow him and love Abu Bakr and Umar radiallahu anhu. Look at this. Shaykh Rabee says, يدافعون عن هذا الإلحاد ويدافعون عن هذه الزندقة. They defend this type of heretics and these deviations. How do we know that? We see it with our own eyes, ya ikhwan. We see it with our own eyes. This year we saw A'id al-Qarni in the Jaridat al-Madina. What did he write in there? He said, enough is enough, O Sunni and O Shi'i. Enough is enough. With fighting each other and so on. So now he's putting them on the same platform. Enough is enough. You should be like the Bedouins. When a Bedouin has a car crash, what happens? What do they say? كل واحد يصلح سيارته. Everybody should just fix his car. So O Sunni, fix your car, and O يصلح سيارته. O Sunni, fix his car, and O Shi'i, fix your own car. Is this how you liken the Sunni and the Shi'i? The Sunni is upon the haqq. The Shi'i, he's the one that is cursing and reviling the Sahaba. So how can you say put them on the same platform? And also in another newspaper article, which was about a year or 2 years ago, which I saw with my own eyes as well, and I took it to one of them, Shaykh Ahmad Hadi, because he collects these things. He collects them in order to refute them with knowledge. And he had already seen it and heard about it as well. I said, and subhanAllah, they write regularly on the newspaper, on the Friday one, the Medina News. And the Shaykh always talk about their statements, Nasallallahu Salama, refuting their statements. In another paper, about a year or 2 years ago, he said it's allowed to have the Shias in the Mamlaka should be given schools, Shia schools. What are they going to learn in Shia schools? They're going to love of Sahaba. What do the Shia teach their children? SubhanAllah, just outside even our own community in Medina, in Hayy al-Awali, the Shia, you can see them doing pilgrimage to the graveyard, which is in Awali. Do pilgrimage, ya ikhwan, in large multitudes, hundreds of them coming out, walking from the Masjid al-Nabi all the way to this graveyard, who they think that the Hawa is there. They think Hawa is there, the wife of Adam alayhi salam, your mother. They think she's buried there. They go and see her. And they see other Sahabiyat or Sahaba, they go there. And next to it is Mustashfa Zahra, Fatimatu Zahra. And I used to go there because it was cheaper than other Mustashfiyat. To get, if there's a cure for my children, like medicine and that for my children. And subhanAllah, until Shaykh Ubaid advised me, he said, don't go there. I said, why? He goes, because that belongs to the Rafidah. And basically there are reports that when they built that mustashfa, they sacrificed a camel first and buried it under the hospital. So they are people of shirk, sacrificing camels for other than Allah and placing it under hospitals, which they call Mustashfa Zahra, Fatimatu Zahra. Naam. So ya ikhwan, the Rafidah, they do not love the Sahaba. They curse them and they say all of them were in the fire except all of them deviated, murtaddun, except the Ahl Bayt. Who's Ahl Bayt? Even the wives of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, according to them, are not from Ahl Bayt. نسأل الله السلامة. يدافعون عن هذا الإلحاد ويدافعون عن هذه الزندقة ويدافعون عن الكتب التي حوت هذه الجرائم. They defend these books. These misguided individuals, they defend the books of who? Of Sayyid Qutb and other than Sayyid Qutb. There's another one also in Kuwait. What did he say? What do you know? Remember his name? Comes on television and comes on. Huh? No, this is another one that clearly comes on the television. Suwaidan, Tariq Suwaidan. What did he say? He had a gathering with the Shia in Kuwait. He has a gathering there. He had a gathering, and he said to them, if you're gonna curse Abu Hurairah, don't do it in front of us. Do it in your own houses. And he's not negating that you should curse, but not in front of us, not in front of the Sunnis. Do it in your own house. SubhanAllah. Nasallahu salama. And like them are many. So be careful of anyone making intiqas of Sahaba. Be careful. And also be careful that you accuse a alim from Ahl Sunnah who maybe had a slip of the tongue. He didn't intend to speak ill of any of the companions. He slipped the tongue and he was mistaken. Be careful that you also take him out of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. That you take him out of this blessed path. So be careful that you don't become extreme. Alim who's defending the Sahaba day and night in reviving the books of the Salaf, like they have accused Shaykh Ubaid al-Jabri hafidhullah of speaking ill of the Sahaba radhiyallahu anhum. Shaykh Ubaid hafidhullah, in one of his classes, he mentioned about Ka'b ibn Malik radhiyallahu anhu, not intending to speak anything bad about Ka'b ibn Malik radhiyallahu anhu, but he said that if Ka'b ibn Malik stayed upon what he's upon, meaning he didn't make tawbah, then he would have been misguided. If he stayed upon that. And this is what Shaykh Islam Taymiyyah mentions as well about anyone who didn't follow the deen. And this is what Allah says in the Qur'an as well about anyone who doesn't follow the deen. They will be misguided. It doesn't mean that they are speaking against that companion. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about Dhunnun, Yunus alayhi salam, who was in the belly of the whale. وَلَوْلَا أَن تَدَارَكَهُ نِعْمَةٌ مِّن رَبِّهِ لنبذ بالعراء وهو مذموم فاجتباه ربه فجعله من الصالحين. If he was not to, if he, Yunus alayhi salatu salam, didn't make tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then he would still be in the belly of the whale. Is this speaking about Yunus in a bad way? Is this speaking about Yunus in a bad way to say if he didn't make tawbah he would still be in the belly of the whale? This is not what Shaykh Ubaid intended. Just like Allah said in this verse, He did not. Allah is not saying to you that Yunus is bad. Allah praised Yunus alayhi salatu salam and said he's from the Salihin. But there are people who are sick in their hearts, and they try to find any little thing against يعني from the shabab. They try to find any single thing يعني to bring a alim down from the ulama of Ahlul Sunnah, and just say for the sake of argument that a particular Shaykh made a mistake, whether it is Shaykh Ubaid or Shaykh Al-Albani or Shaykh Rabee or Shaykh. Is this how we treat the ulama of Ahlul Sunnah? Is this how we treat them? Those who have defended the Sahaba tooth and nail in their writings and in their books. يعني they did that with Shaykh Rabee as well. They did it with Shaykh Rabee. We found in your tape that you said something that seemingly it's there's some tanaqqus there, seemingly. And what did Shaykh Rabee do? This was this year. Shaykh Rabee subhanAllah wrote a piece. It was on Sahab, a beautiful piece, wallah, and we should all learn from that. He says that was a slip of the tongue, and I swear by Allah I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that, he said. It was a slip of the tongue. Naam. And Shaykh Hafidhullah, he said, and Jazahumullah khair, and those who brought it to me, may Allah I thank them that they have brought it to me. And if only they brought it to me in order to correct me rather than to mock me. Rather than to mock me. So nobody is perfect. People make mistakes. The ulama, they may make a mistake, but the mistake is rejected and the honor is kept for the ulama. The honor is kept, that we respect the ulama and we love the ulama. We don't make lies about them, and nor do we start gathering issues to try to bring them down. Be careful, because Allah will deal with you. Allah will deal with you, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَتَرَبَّصُوا حَتَّى يَأْتِيَ اللَّهُ بِأَمْرِهِ. So wait until Allah brings His command. So be careful of you that you harm a friend of Allah, because the ulama are the friends of Allah. So be careful. It may be that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will deal with you. مَنْ عَادَى لِي وَلِيًّا فَقَدْ آذَنْتُهُ بِالْحَرْبِ, as the Messenger said, that Allah said in hadith which is in Bukhari, whoever harms a friend of mine, I'm at war with him. نعم. وَيُوَالُونَ وَيُعَادُونَ عَلَيْهَا. Because as Shaykh Abdullah Bukhari mentioned recently, he says we have not known from Shaykh Ubaid to be a person of inad and kibr in taking back his mistakes. The one upon inad and kibr, you'll find that is the one who ends up being the innovator and the person in the hawa. Shaykh Ubaid is not like that. In a dars, the people praise him, they say, Ya Shaykh Al-Fadil. Shaykh said, don't say that. Just Fadil. Don't say that. I testify in front of the angels as witnesses, in front of Allah and the angels and those who are listening here, that I'm only a talib ilm. Many times humbling themselves, that such that they this is the qualities of the ulama, is that they humble themselves. They don't like to be praised, and if he made a mistake, he will say I made a mistake. And wallahi, how many times we saw with our own eyes, we heard with our own ears. The Shaykh said, yesterday I said something, it was a mistake, the brother Jazallah khair, so and so, he brought it to me, and he's right in this affair, and may Allah forgive me for that mistake. Look, more than once. And Shaykh Abdul Muhsin Hafidhullah likewise. Shaykh Abdul Muhsin, subhanallah, one time books came, his own book, they printed it outside the country, it came in, and in the front it says Allamat Abdul Muhsin. When Shaykh Abdul Muhsin saw it, you know what he said? He said this book is not allowed to go out into the bookshops until he brought all the tullab, a group of tullab, 20 tullab, and from them was one of the brothers we know always with Shaykh Abdul Muhsin. He told us the story. He said all night we were there using Tipex, deleting Allama. All night deleting Allama, and he said not just the front cover, also from inside. They put it in front and inside the book. All night they is deleting that. Hakada ulama, they are afraid that they are praised. Shaykh Al-Albani in the famous tapes, هذه دعوتنا, when the introducer, the one who's introducing him, he said Al-Allama, Al-Muhaddith, Muhaddith Al-Asr, Al-Faqih, and so on. So much praise. Al-Ustad. Shaykh Al-Bani said, Jazakallah khair for your husn al-dhan. Thank you for your good opinion. But I am not that. And Allah knows that I am only a talib ilm. And I will not say except what Abu Bakr said to his people when they praised him in front of him. He said, Allahumma la tu'akhidna bima yaqulun waj'alna khayran mimma yadhunnun waghfir lana mimma la ya'lamun. Oh Allah, don't hold us accountable for what they say, and make us better than what they say, and forgive us for they don't really know us, and forgive us for they don't really know us, yani for that which they don't know about us, for that which they don't know about us. And as the Salaf used to say, if they really knew us, they would throw stones at us. If they really knew us, they would throw stones at us because of our sins and our mistakes. And in Nuniyat Qahtani, what did he say? When Nuniyat Qahtani he said, Imam Qahtani from the 4th century, the Maliki Imam, rahimahullah, he said, فوالله لو علموا قبيح سريرتي لأبى السلام علي من يلقاني. And if the people, by Allah, want to know my secret affairs, they wouldn't give salam to me, those who meet me. They wouldn't give salam to me. If they knew my secret affairs, they wouldn't even give salam to me. This is how the Salaf used to be, ya ikhwan. And this is how the ulama are of today. They are humbled, wallah. They are humbled. They don't like the praise of the people. They don't like the praise. What is the praise going to do to you? You know what Shaykh Al-Bani says in one tape, rahimahullah? Listen to the Shaykh Al-Bani's tapes, wallah. So much hikmah, so much wisdom. Shaykh Al-Bani, rahimahullah, you know, he said one tape, subhanallah. He said, what? You know, the people go around with tazkiyat. You know, this Shaykh praised me. Piece of paper. Maybe it was a praise just to get into the Jami'ah. Yeah? But mashallah, it's going left, right and center around the world. Look, Alim has praised me. SubhanAllah. You know what Shaykh Al-Bani says? What's that going to do to you in Yawm Al-Qiyamah? That tazkiyah, is that going to help you? In Yawm Al-Qiyamah, as Shaykh Rabee ibn Haadee himself says, those who go around using my tazkiyat, he said the thing that's going to help you is what? Is your amal as-salih. That is your tazkiyah. That is your tazkiyah. But all you're known for is fitna, and all you're known for is fasad, and all you're known for is corruption. That is your tazkiyah. That is what you carry with you. But if you're known for righteousness, and you're known for teaching the people good, and you're known to help the community, and you're known for ilm, meaning the ulama, you're known for striving more than 15 lessons a day, teaching the people, this is what you're known for, and you're known for defending the Sahaba, and you're known for defending the deen of Allah and reviving the books of Aqeedah of Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah, this is your tazkiyah, your amal as-salih. This is what you carry with you. So ya ikhwata,